welcome to the show.
And welcome back to another episode of the AstrosFuture podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Price, also known as AstrosFuture. You can find me on X at AstrosFuture, Instagram, Facebook. Find me on the website, AstrosFuture.com. We're about 2 or 3 weeks into the minor league season now. Figured it's a good time to go ahead and do an update, see where the teams are, where the numbers are lying, what prospects are standing out to this point, and kind of where we're at with the pitchers, the hitters, and we got some mailbag questions to get to. But we'll jump right into it. Starting in AAA, Sugar Land Space Cowboys. They got started about a week earlier than the other teams, but they're 7-8 right now, which has been a little up and down. You know, last year coming off the PCL championship and then the AAA championship. But the guys that we expected to do well there are doing exactly that, and it's really led by some of the pitching. AJ Blueball has been really, really dominant. 1.38 ERA, 21 strikeouts in 13 innings. His last outing, he pitched on the backside of the Lance McCullers start. Went 4 scoreless, struck out 8. I think he touched 97.3, if I remember right, 97.2, something like that. Which is awesome to see from him. You know, obviously he was our All-Star Futures representative last year, and to come out and had a little bit of a rough spring, could have been working on something, but to see him dominate like that right now and to see the velocity increase too is huge. And I think it's only a matter of time before he gets an opportunity with the Astros. We know they're going to need more pitchers eventually. And he's been really good down in AAA, but he's not the only starter that's kind of cranking out the numbers. Colton Gordon, another guy who I think a lot of people are looking at as maybe an option to come up and get some spot starts if the Astros have some injuries. And he's been really good too. 1.76 ERA, 15 strikeouts and 15 in a third innings. So another good starter there. Both those guys I think are pretty much ready at the point where when the Astros are in need of a starter, one of those two guys is going to get an opportunity. Obviously, Gusto's getting the starts in the place of Arrighetti right now. I think he'll get another one later this week or this weekend, but really good to see those two guys kind of stand out. It was those two guys and Gusto last year that were kind of that trio that carried AAA or carried Sugar Land to the AAA championship. So nice to see Gusto on the Major League roster and Blueball and Gordon right behind him, putting up really good numbers. But there's a good story down in Sugar Land that I think is kind of caught the attention of some people, and Tyler Ivey. You know, 3rd round pick back in 2017, and we're talking almost 8 years ago. You know, made his major league debut in 2021, put up some ridiculous numbers in the minors, and then obviously had the injuries, ended up not playing baseball for a while, and he's back now, and he's actually pitching really well. ERA under 2. I forgot exactly what the exact number is, but it's under 2. And I know on Sunday he pitched at the back end of a game, threw 5 no-hit innings, struck out 2. Just really good to see. And it's a fun story. Someone kind of compared it to like the John Singleton comeback story from last year, but I don't think it's just a story. I think he's going to have an opportunity to get some innings with the Astros, just based on what he's done, you know, in the past and what he's doing right now. So really good to see that the Astros have some depth at that starting position down in AAA. So when they need those guys, I think they'll be ready. The offensive side has struggled a little bit. Actually, before I go to let me mention a few others. Rhett Koba was drafted a few years ago, had some really good numbers early on, and then just last year struggled with injuries a little bit. But it's nice to see him back, and he's pitching in relief and got some good numbers in relief. Unfortunately, a couple pitchers have struggled. I know Kenny was kind of looking forward to Misael Tamarez, and he struggled a little bit in relief, him and Aaron Brown. But on the hitting side, not a ton to look at, which is really the reason they're 7-8. The pitching's actually been pretty solid. The team as a whole, I think, is hitting in the 190s right now. But Colin Price has been awesome this year. Named him the AstrosFuture Player of the Week this week. Last week he hit 444 with 2 homers, 8 RBIs. On the season, he's hitting 333. He's got 2 doubles, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. And he's a guy that's posted some pretty good like exit velocity numbers. I know a couple years ago in Asheville, he started out the year where he was just crushing the ball. Things weren't really landing right, and then he ended up dealing with some injuries and just never really kind of broke out. He's 25, catcher, first base prospect, and we're kind of seeing the offensive outburst now, and he's still striking out a little bit. And, you know, there'll be opportunities probably where, you know, maybe the balls won't find holes, but, you know, doing that kind of damage in Sugar Land is Sugar Land's not a hitter friendly park. Like you see a lot of the other PCL parks, you know, Albuquerque, Salt Lake, Las Vegas, you know, the ball flies out there. Sugar Land's not like that. To see him have the 2 homers and the grand slam he hit on Sunday was absolutely demolished. Another name people are kind of looking forward to this year, Bryce Matthews, he's off to a little bit of a rough start. The average is down a little bit. He's striking out a little bit too much, but he does lead the Astros system with 8 stolen bases. So despite the limited opportunities he's gotten on base, he's kind of wrecking havoc out there with 8 stolen bases in 14 games, but only hitting 180 to this point. Jacob Melton, another guy we were looking forward to in spring training, had some back issues, back injuries, but made it back in his second game, homered twice. So really good to see that. And then the other guy I think we're looking for, Shea Whitcomb, got to a little bit of a slow start, but he's up to 5 doubles, 2 homers now. But overall, Sugar Land, like I said, sitting at 7 and 8, kind of being carried by the pitching so far. But hopefully those bats will get going, especially as they start taking some road trips here. I don't know exactly where they're going to be at on Tuesday night, but I know it's not in Sugar Land. We'll jump down to Double A. Corpus Christi Hooks. It's kind of been a rough one for them. They're 3-6 right now. Going into the season, I think there was a lot of optimism around their pitching, and so far that's kind of panned out. Unfortunately, the offense has seen some struggles, but without a doubt, probably the most impressive pitcher maybe so far in the Astros system this year is Jose Fleury. And he's been awesome. He started in 2 games. His last game, he went 6 innings, gave up 1 hit, no run, struck out 9. He's got 13 strikeouts in 11 innings, is yet to allow a run. He's only allowed 4 hits, which is very impressive. And his changeup, which has been a pitch that a lot of people have been really, really high on for a while, just looks really, really good. I mean, guys are way out in front, a ridiculous amount of movement. He had a breakout year in 23, I think it was. And then kind of expected a lot from him last year, but had a little bit of injuries. Numbers still weren't that bad. Went to the Arizona Fall League, and man, he's looking great right now. Another pitcher I think that kind of caught some eyes in spring, kind of came out of nowhere is Wilmy Sanchez. He's a relief pitcher with the Hooks right now, and he had a pretty good year last year. Put up some good numbers, strikeout numbers in Fayetteville and in Asheville. Ended up striking out 82 and 54. Better numbers in Asheville than he actually had in Fayetteville. But he went into spring training. He only pitched in 2 games, but he had 2 scoreless innings, 4 strikeouts. Looked really good. I think the Astros player development had shared that he was up to like 97 or something, and he's just been dominant so far as pretty much the closer for the Hooks. And he's pitched in 3 games, has 5 scoreless innings, 6 strikeouts, allowed just 1 hit. So the pitching staff is like I said, has kind of done what we kind of thought they would. Tyler Guilfoyle's been great too, 1 earned run in 6 innings, struck out 10 guys. But the offense is, I said, it's been kind of rough. Once again, just like it is with Sugar Land. Corpus Christi, Whataburger Field's not a great hitter's ballpark. The wind blows in pretty hard from right, so any lefties really struggle. But Colin Barber, who is a lefty, been around a little while, but he's hitting 324. He's got 2 doubles and a homer, so not a bad start for him. And then Pascal Ferreras hitting 281. But just like it is with Sugar Land, the offense has been a struggle. The Hooks offense is batting 196 as a team. So that's just, they're hopefully some of those guys get hot. It seems like it's been a slow start for some of them. The way Dana Brown has been in the past, I think we could see some aggressive promotions, maybe some guys making that jump from high A up to Double A, even maybe by the end of the month at some point in May. But the pitching has been really good. Like I said, 3-6. Records are what they are in the minors. I mean, you prefer to win, but seeing some of those guys, it's like I said, especially Sanchez and Fleury, show that stuff that kind of made them top prospects is really good to see. We'll jump down to Asheville High A. They're 4-4, and it's actually been a kind of an interesting season. They've had a few like blowout wins and a few blowout losses is kind of where they're at right now. But another guy that has really caught a lot of people's eyes, Anderson Brito, he's been as advertised. 7-2 scoreless innings, struck out 12 so far. Just really, really good numbers from him. Young right-hander, made a heck of a rise last year, going from the Dominican Summer League to Florida Complex League up to Single A. And now he's in High A, putting up ridiculous numbers. And like I said, if Dana Brown continues this aggressive promotion, I don't think it'll be too much longer before he's joined in Corpus Christi. But the relievers outside of Anderson, the relievers have actually put up some ridiculous numbers. And there's a guy I really want to shine some light on. That's Hudson Leach. He was an undrafted free agent, and we've seen it. Logan Van Wy, undrafted free agent. The Astros have been able to find some of those guys, and he's another one. He came out of Miami, Ohio. Had some rough numbers really in college. I mean, he had a 5.50 ERA in college, 5.46 his junior year. But he went into the draft. Like I said, the Astros went ahead and signed him as an undrafted free agent, and he has been lights out so far this year. He's had pitch in 2 games, 3 2/3, perfect innings, struck out 8. And what I also want to point out is the Astros player development had posted a couple times about him, and I believe in the offseason he was up to like 99, but I know for sure he was up to 97 this spring. So finding another guy in relief who went in as an undrafted free agent like Logan Van Wy, and the Astros are getting something out of him. With same thing I just said a minute ago about Dana Brown and the aggressive promotions. If Hudson Leach keeps this up with that kind of stuff, it's been nasty. He hadn't walked a single person. Like I said, 3 2/3. Just really, really good numbers from him. And then Colby Langford, lefty they drafted a couple years ago, had a little bit of struggles this year, but he's pitching relief right now. 3 1/3, struck out 5, hadn't allowed a run, so really good start from him. The catching position in the Astros system has seen its ups and downs. At one point, it felt like they had a ton of catchers. Corey Lee and Yainer Diaz and Luke Berryhill, a few other guys, and then as it's been recently, Yainer gets called up, Corey Lee gets traded, Berryhill ends up getting released. Well, the Asheville Taurus, they're producing the catchers are producing right now. That's where the offense is coming from. And it's kind of led by Will Bush, who's a draft pick a couple years ago, 21 years old. He's hitting .313. He's got 2 homers, 4 RBIs. Really good start for him. Big lefty, good power. And then Garrett Guillemette from Texas that they drafted a couple years ago. He's only hitting .211, but he's got 3 homers, 7 RBIs. One of them was a walk-off 3-run homer he had this last week. OPS is right at about 1,000, so really good numbers. And then Walker Yannick, first-round pick last year, only played in, I think it's maybe 5 or 6 games right now, but he's hitting .300, got 3 doubles. So those catchers are really, really swinging it well. And there's a few other guys we were looking forward to in Asheville that like Chase Jaworski, Kenny Gomez. Gomez got a late start to the season, dealing with a little injury, but he's back now. And then Jaworski's played about 4 or 5 games. But a name that has kind of jumped out and really his production over the last couple of years will tell you that. But Alejandro Nunez, the Astros signed him when he was 17 years old. Made his full season debut last year at 19, and kind of under the radar put up some solid numbers. In single A, hit .256, had 18 stolen bases, an OPS over 700. Once again, not a good hitter's park. Got a late season promotion to Asheville, but so far this year in Asheville, in 6 games, he's hit .318, got a double, a homer, 5 RBIs. Plays all over the infield, second, shortstop, third base. I think he's going to be a sneaky prospect, kind of one to watch. I know a lot of us, myself included, got eyes on Chase Jaworski down there, but Nunez had really good numbers last year in single A, comparable to Chase, and now he's doing it again in high A. So that'll be a sneaky one to continue to watch, see how he progresses. And then another popular pick in spring that a lot of people are looking forward to, Joseph Sullivan. He's got 2 homers, both came in the same game, actually, 2 stolen bases. He has drawn 9 walks. I think he's hitting under 200, but the on-base percentage is probably over 400, 9 walks in 8 games. And like I said, a couple homers, couple stolen bases, kind of showing that power speed that the Astros saw in the draft that they liked. But that'll wrap up Asheville. And then finally down in single A, all the way down in Fayetteville, the Woodpeckers are 4-5. And really it's the pitching again. I know the Astros have constantly developed good pitching. That's been their thing. And it just feels like every draft they're finding somebody late in the draft, and then the guys coming in putting up dominant numbers. That or on the international side. But Cole Hertzler, 5th round pick last year. So far this year, he hasn't allowed an earned run in 9 1/3 innings. Has 13 strikeouts. Really good numbers from him. His last outing was just dominant, and guys were nowhere near it. Fastball looked great. And then Twine Palmer, real big, lanky kid out of junior college, 19th round pick last year. So far, he's off to a great start. 6 innings, 10 strikeouts, only allowed 1 earned run. So a couple guys that they found last year. And then Bryce Mayer, another guy that they got out of Missouri, 3 innings, 5 strikeouts, no runs. It feels like last year with Ethan Pecco, Jackson Nezu, James Hicks, those guys, they kind of came out of nowhere. Next thing you know, they're putting up really good numbers, working their way up the system. And Ethan Pecco's case, he ended up winning the Astros minor league pitcher of the year. And I'll jump on Pecco real quick. He ended up on the 7-day IL in Corpus Christi. He hasn't pitched yet this season. Given that it's only the 7-day, I'm optimistic that hopefully it's something minor and they're just using it as a roster spot. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But the Woodpeckers on the hitting side, there's a couple of guys that I think we're really looking forward to seeing. I'll start with one, and it's Yancey Villarreal. Just really good numbers, 20-year-old catcher. Hitting and made up to single A last year, had some solid numbers, but this year he's doing really, really well, hitting .323, 2 doubles, a triple, 5 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. He doesn't strike out a lot. He draws walks, a good athlete, plays second base and catcher. He's going to be a fun one to watch for a few years. And then Lucas Spence, that's another undrafted guy that they found. He's hitting 280, but he's got a 455 on base percentage, 3 stolen bases, lefty hitting, lefty throwing outfielder. Really good numbers from him. So overall, the system right now, the offense is down as a whole. It's not. I would say for sure the pitching is kind of carrying the system so far for 2025. The overall system has a 4.27 ERA, not terrible, but the hitters combined have a 2.03 ERA. So I'm looking here. Sugarland is hitting 180 as a team. Corpus Christi 196. OPSs are in the 600. So it's been a rough start offensively. Hopefully getting a couple of these guys healthy. There are still a few that we're missing. Luis Baez hasn't made his debut. Now Mara Ochoa, I think, was a guy we were looking forward to seeing in Nashville. And I'd heard that he was involved in a car accident, and injuries are minor, but maybe they're just taking their time getting him back. Hopefully you get those reinforcements in High A and in Corpus Christi, see the offense tick up a little bit. But as it's been the last few years, the Astros pitching staff and their development at the minor levels is really second to none. And, we see what their pitching staff is doing right now, kind of carrying the major league squad. And then you got guys like Blue Ball and Gordon. And then you got Fleury and some of those other guys in Double-A and the Astros. They keep rolling the pitchers out. We know we're going to need them. Pitching is expensive. Framber Valdez, free agent at the end of the year. We'll see what happens with that. But overall, rough start offensively, great start with the pitching. And can't really complain too much on how the system has performed so far. Overall record of 18-23, which if you would have looked about 6 days ago, it would have looked a lot worse. But they kind of picked it up, had a sweep on Saturday, and then won 3 out of 4 on Sunday. But we also got some mailbag questions that I want to get to. I asked on X, and I got some pretty good responses. So I didn't pre-plan for them. So we'll go right off the top on answering them. So let's see. First one I got here is from Third Coast Tom. Said, who is the next up-and-coming pitcher that we might not know? I tell everyone you were on Spencer Arrighetti being a stud way early. Well, I appreciate the nod on that one. Yeah, I talked with Spencer back in Nashville in 2022 and had some really good numbers there, obviously, and made his way up. But let's see. Someone that we might not know. I think Jose Fleury kind of falls into that category. I think if you had a big year last year, he would have been more known coming off his 23, but that's one I think that the Astros are probably excited about. Like I said, has that really dominant pitch, and we've seen what guys can do with one really dominant pitch in that changeup. But I would say Jose Fleury, if I had to go outside of that, someone that's not super well known, I think Jackson Nezu is another one. Drafted last year, put up some really, really good numbers on his way up to Double-A. He's had 2 outings so far. Second outing, I think, was yesterday on Sunday. A little rough. First outing was really good, but there's a lot of good pitchers to look for. But yeah, I would go with Fleury as the guy that maybe is kind of that up and comer that not everyone fully knows about yet. From Abreu Supremacy says, did the Astros purposely have Blue Ball suck this spring to throw other teams off his scent? Obviously, he's joking there, but I don't know. Maybe Blue Ball was working on something specific, but then again, it's also a small sample. You have one bad outing and you give him 6 runs in 7 innings. I think it was something like that. But no, I think the stuff is really good, and he pitches with a nice swagger that I think when Astros fans get the opportunity to see it, I wouldn't say it's maybe at Arrighetti's level, but it's up there, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he gets that opportunity. Got another question from You Don't Know Show. He says, why is the AAA team off to a slow start? What is it about the Astros organization coming out of spring training to start slow? Last year, they didn't get off to a slow start. I mean, they were the best team in AAA and really, truly like all of baseball the entire season. I think I know they had more wins than anybody, even major league teams. But this year, like I just said, I think it's offense. The offense is hitting 180. Some of the guys that I think maybe last year were hitting really well have just got off to slow starts. Shea Whitcomb has had back-to-back years of really good numbers in AAA, and so far he's hitting 179 through 15 games. Jesus Bastidas was great last year. He's hitting 125. Quincy Hamilton hitting 120. Like I said, Matthews 180. So there hasn't been – the only guy that's really been hot for them has been Colin Price. I think once those bats get going on the road hopefully helps a little bit. I think we'll start to see him get a little bit more hot. They'll get rolling, but to be 7-8 with a team that's hitting 180 is really good. And that just tells you how good the pitching has been. Posting that low ERA, did get some help from Lance McCullers on Sunday through that 4 scoreless. But yeah, that's I would say that's for sure why they've started slow. is just having that rough offensive start. Next question here from Travis at TLS 1019. He says, who do you think is the next outfielder to come up if and when they need more depth there? Melton, Pedro Leon, Kennedy Corona. I would say for sure Melton's probably that top guy. I think one of the top prospects, and he's been kind of like notoriously a slow starter. He's got a lot of moving parts in his swing. So in his second game to hit 2 homers was really, really good to see. So excited to see what he can continue to do now that he's back healthy. But yeah, I think if you're looking at depth pieces, I mean, Pedro Leon's already on the 40-man roster. I think he's and I think Kennedy Corona is as well. So like those could be potential call-ups if they really need some help, if there's the need, if there's injuries or something like that. But I think the hope is that Melton is that guy that you can call up and really help out the squad, and not necessarily just come in as a filler, but come in as a guy who can maybe bring some energy and kind of fulfill that top prospect status that he's had for quite a while. Next one I got here from Hector. He says, are you following Jose Gonzalez, ex-Pioneer League, non-drafted outfielder now in high A? I am. Yeah, that's a pretty cool story. And he's off to a solid start. He's played in 5 games, hitting .333. He's got more walks and strikeouts, a double, a stolen base, 24 years old. Let's see. I think he went to Texas State, if I remember right. Yeah. So Texas State for his college career. Solid numbers, played in the MLB Draft League after that year, played in the Pioneer League last year and hit .370 in independent ball. And then the Astros signed him as an outfielder this year, and 24 years old in high A. He's only, like I said, he's only played in 5 games, but off to a good start. And yeah, that's a fun story to watch, and hopefully he can continue to hit like that, because that would be cool to see, them getting a guy out of the Pioneer League and making his way up the system. Next question I got. With Gusto currently in the MLB rotation, which starter is next in line for an MLB debut if and when further depth is needed? I think it's got to be AJ Blueball. I think with what he's doing in AAA right now, with him being the All-Star Futures representative last year, what he did last year, he's really good numbers, and I think he's just waiting for his opportunity. I know there was a chance that maybe out of spring training he could have nabbed a roster spot and ended up not getting it. Went with some more veteran relievers, which is probably best for his development. Let him go back down to AAA and start some more games, and he's done completely fine down in AAA. So I think he's the next guy up. Another question here from You Don't Know Show. He says, thoughts on Christian Gonzalez coming back, plus Colin Barber making a jump to AAA. Yeah, Christian Gonzalez had a ton of helium early in his career. I think some of it was strictly just an age thing. He made his full season debut at 19 in Fayetteville and had decent numbers at .244, and then in 2022 he played for Asheville and had some struggles, and then over the last 2 years besides that he's played in a total of 10 games, just had a lot of injuries. So he's back in high A at 23 right now. He's hitting .250. He's got a homer so far, 9 strikeouts in 6 games. Really gonna have to see a lot from him. I know the scouting report on him was a ridiculously huge arm over at the hot corner. And he's played, he's played a couple games at shortstop, couple plays at games at third. Real big kid. They got him listed at 6'4", 210. I know there's some chances that maybe he could end up moving to right field or something, but just good to see him healthy and playing. After playing 10 games for the last 2 years, that's got to be rough. So him just being healthy out there is really good to see. And then Colin Barber, another guy that's kind of struggled with some health, 4th round pick a few years ago, signed over slot out of high school. But like I mentioned earlier, off to a good start, hitting .324. I don't know if there's a spot for him right now, with Melton and with Quincy Hamilton and Pedro Leon when he's available, Kennedy Corona. Looking at some of these other guys, I don't know if there's a spot for him. Even Shea Wickham's playing some outfield right now, so we'll see if he gets an opportunity. But I do think he's going to be a guy that, if he continues to produce, they're going to have to put him up in AAA. And given his age, he's 24 in AA right now. But just like it is with Gonzalez, he's healthy, and that's kind of the number one thing for him right now is staying healthy, being healthy, being ready, being available, and going out and playing. Last question I got here from Gordo B. Staff. He says, is Colin Price for real? Is there any word on Alonzo Treadwells? So Colin Price, like I said, he's posted good peripherals, good walk rates, good exit velocity. The numbers just haven't really been there. And now that they're here, I think it's a good sign. I mean, like I said, I think his batting average on balls display is obviously inflated early in the season. He's got some strikeout concerns, but I think the power's legit. So I think at 25 years old, I wouldn't say he's a non-prospect. I think he's a legit prospect. And then Treadwell is an interesting one. The Astros drafted him in the second round a couple years ago out of UCLA. High potential, like ridiculously huge. I think me and Kenny were talking about last year, 6'8", 245. So, you could put him at tight end, or I guess you could put him at power forward for the Rockets going into the playoffs here. But he finally made his debut this season. First 2 innings were phenomenal. I think he struck out 4 in the first 2 innings. Went into the third inning, walked a couple, ended up not allowing a hit, just allowed the 1 run. But he'll probably get another start this week. So just like it is with the previous 2 that we mentioned, it's health. He's got to remain healthy. He's got to get out there. Andrew Taylor, I talked to him a couple weeks ago. He's healthy. He should be debuting here soon. Those are 2 second-round picks that the Astros have drafted, spent high picks, high value on, and that have struggled to stay healthy. So if Taylor can stay healthy, if Treadwell can stay healthy, and if they can both pitch to the level of their draft and their bonus and pitch well, that would be a huge boost to the system. Because the Astros just haven't gotten a ton from those second, third round picks recently. So to get something out of Treadwell and Taylor would be big. But that was the last question I got here on the mailbag. Went through this really quick just to, like I said, just to kind of recap where we're at in the season. Kenny and I will be back on next week. Hopefully have a guest for y'all. But appreciate everyone tuning in. As always, if you like the show, just do us a favor, drop a review. Leave us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate the reviews. Love reading them. And then if there's ever anything that you want us to cover or something, some feedback you want to give, DMs are always open on X, on Facebook, or wherever you need to reach me. But as always, appreciate y'all listening. We look forward to having you back for the next episode of the Astros Future podcast, covering your Astros in the minor league system.